and welcome to Rave in Review, where we rave about and review any and all things pop culture and anything that interests us. I'm Kaya, and you can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at kaya.r.pennington. Now, unfortunately, my lovely co-host Bree had to take a leave of absence for the remainder of the season due to scheduling issues, but that is okay. Just because one of us isn't here does not mean that you guys should miss out on our content. So for this episode and the remaining two episodes, I'm going solo to entertain you guys. With that said, you can follow Bree on Instagram and Twitter at BreeNavette26, and you can follow Rave and Review on Instagram, Twitter, and even TikTok at Rave_and_review. Before we get into it, be sure to like, follow, comment, subscribe, and most importantly, share. Guys, sharing helps us out so much. Engaging with our content, leaving views and likes and comments, all of that helps us out so much. Help us be our best selves by bringing us to a wider audience by sharing with all of your friends and family. Leaving comments, they don't have to be positive, they can be a little negative. We can tussle in the comments, but remember to be respectful in the comments. Likes, follows, subscriptions, not just here, but on our Apple Podcasts, Anchor, Spotify, on our personal socials, on the Rave and Review socials. All of that helps us out so much. Engaging with our content helps, so please engage with our content. Leave likes, follow, share, subscriptions, all of that. We really appreciate it, and it helps us out so much. And with that, let's get into our first segment, Twitter Conversations, where we discuss trending threads on Twitter. Now, for this one, I enter it with caution because part of me doesn't even want to give it attention because it's such a conversation. It's a nuanced conversation, but also a please stop conversation. But here it is. It pops up on my Twitter conversation, my Twitter feed, and I don't even know why, because as soon as I see this kind of stuff, I disengage with it, I don't engage with it, I block it, all of that, but it's on my Twitter feed regardless. So let's talk about in light of recent people with fame, recent Black people with fame, sharing and engaging in what could be seen as anti-Semitic rhetoric. Let's talk about how there have been people on the timeline. Oh yeah, we are the original Hebrews, Israelites, Egyptians, natives, green people, all of that, but y'all not ready to talk about that. Y'all are just ashamed of that. Y'all ain't ready for it. And it's just like, y'all know it's okay to be a Black American, right? Right? Like, y'all know it is A-O-freaking-K to be a Black American. There is value in being a Black American. We as Black Americans have culture. Now what really irks me is that when people talk with this way, they're generalizing, and it's like, I don't know about y'all, and I will even be honest with you, I can't trace my roots back on all sides, but what I can trace back, I'm not a Hebrew, I'm not an Israelite, I'm from the Americas. I am from the Americas, and that's okay. It's okay to be like, I don't know if y'all know this, but I'm gonna let y'all in on a little secret, okay? It's a secret, so you gotta keep it confidential. I'm gonna let y'all in on something. Okay, ready? Black Americans are the blueprint to a lot of stuff in America and worldwide. Who'd have freaking thought? The way of fashion, a lot of fashion is due to Black American culture. A lot of way of speaking and talking, all of that is due to Black American culture. A lot of food is due to Black American culture. It's okay to be a Black American. And I think this conversation stems from the fact that a lot of people think Black American history starts with slavery, and it doesn't. And that's what needs to be talked about. And not just every February, but all the time, about how Black Americans, the Black American history does not start with slavery. But neither does it all start with Hebrews and Israelites and Egyptians. And a lot of people, like, they want to say, oh, y'all are just ashamed to be like, I don't know why y'all ashamed of y'all roots. I'm not ashamed of my roots. These are not my roots. I'm not false claiming like like, isn't that such a white man, oh, you're the white man, way of thinking, to go and try to be and push and try to be a part of a culture you have nothing to be a part of. And I talked about this when I talked about being too woke in our unpopular opinions segment a while back. But going over to these other countries, to these other cultures, and being like, yeah, I'm a part of y'all, when you're not and you have no roots in that culture, is such a colonizing thing to do. And as far as being ashamed, ask yourself this question. Why are you looking to all this other stuff for we were a part of greatness? Now, if that's your individual heritage, that's one thing. But all this, y'all are ashamed, y'all not ready for these conversations, and yada, 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 but we were a part of greatness. And why is it that you're looking to this? Because as I said, Black American culture is a culture, and there's a lot of good stuff that happened in that culture. Being a part of that culture is just as important and just as, validating as being a part of African cultures or Israelite cultures or Hebrew cultures. It is okay to be a Black. That's something that a lot of people don't value. And then these same people sit here wondering why everything in the Black American culture is being genderfied and not taken seriously and losing value, but y'all don't even have value in it yourselves. Look, if that's your individual heritage, sure. And again, I am not saying you cannot be more than one ethnicity, but here's a question, and I say this knowing that Google is free and I can look it up, but I have not had the chance to look it up. But here's a genuine question that comes in my head every time I hear these kind of, we were the Egyptians, yada, yada, yada. Weren't the Egyptians enslavers? Like, weren't they? So does that mean we were, and not to be like some devil's advocate for white people, but like, really, weren't Egyptians enslavers? So does that mean we were enslavers? Like, that's one of the questions that pop in my head every time these kind of conversations go on. But I cannot stress enough, it is okay to be a Black American. Validate Black American culture because it is a thing. Also acknowledge that we can have differences within that culture. I was recently talking to my aunt about how some Black Americans might look at me crazy for saying that spaghetti and fish are a whole meal. Being from the South, I think it's a whole meal. Some Black Americans from the North might not agree with me, but it's a meal. It's a meal, okay? So acknowledging that you can have differences like that, but it's still a culture in its whole. Like, y'all want to talk about being ashamed so bad, and y'all want to be woke so bad, and it's like we were kings, and yeah, Black people were. But is that your folk? Stop claiming stuff that you don't have any claim to. It's okay that your roots are in Black American culture. It's okay to say that Black American history does not start with slavery. It's okay to say that there are Black people who were kings and queens. But don't sit here and act like we were just responsible for it all. Like, and again, you can be more than one ethnicity, but stop generalizing. That's what really kills me. Stop generalizing as if we were all these people. We as in we all were all these ethnicities at once, and then an asteroid hit, and the asteroid being white people, and now we just have no connection to anything. I know where I'm from. Like I said, I can't tell you, like, the side that I can trace, I know where I'm from. And being an individual thinker now, as an adult, I know when I say I know where I'm from, I mean I know where I come from my childhood to now. I feel like I have roots. I feel like I have a culture. I'm not lost. I'm not lost. I don't feel like I have no connection to anything and need to find and need to go into other people's cultures and invade their cultures and stuff like that. I'm not lost. I know where I'm from in that respect, right? And I feel like I have a culture and I feel like I have a community. I wish some people in this community would stop acting like they are just the smartest thing to walk the earth. But, and again, like this is a nuanced conversation, and I'm not saying there isn't any truth in it, but I also need y'all to stop acting like Black American culture is something to be ashamed of, and that it in fact is not a culture, because it in fact is. Like, a lot of people aren't claiming those other heritage because they know where they're from in that respect. They know the culture that they were raised in, and they are proud of it. I know there are a lot of things we can say we're not proud of to be like. I know there are a lot of things that we could say as an American we're not proud of, but you will never catch me saying I'm not proud to be a Black American, because I am proud to be a Black American, because I have culture in that. There is culture in that. I am part of a lineage that is great in its own respect. It's up there with the kings and queens of Egypt and the pharaohs of old. Like, and on another note, why are y'all, these kind of people, like, so quick to align yourselves with a man who did horrendous acts on other people? Like, y'all know y'all didn't fit his Aryan race too, right? In addition to the genocide of Jews, he was also massacring disabled people and gay people and Black people, people who did not have blue eyes and blonde hair. We would not fit into his Aryan race. Stop trying to make it like this man was doing something right. Like, why? And I want y'all to ask yourself this question. Really ask yourself this question. Because you want to talk about y'all are ashamed and y'all have no culture and all of this and all of that. But ask yourself why you were looking this far out to claim something, to feel connected to something. And again, if that's your individual heritage that can connect back to that, okay. But you personally, if you have no claim to that, why are you looking to that to be great as opposed to looking deeper in on Black American culture, like closer to home? Also, why are you trying to align yourself or make it look like this genocide person, this genocidal maniac, was in the right when you wouldn't fit into his Aryan race either? Let's be for real here, guys. This is the higher form of thinking that you wish you would like, that you claim that you want to do. Do it. Let's validate Black American history. Let's validate Black American culture. It is a thing, and it didn't start with slavery, but it is a thing in its own right. That, to me, from where I'm from, it's right up there with the pharaohs of old and all of that. Like, there's validation in being a Black American. We need to value that more. Otherwise, when it gets devalued by the outsiders, we've no one to blame but ourselves. Like, please ask yourself why you're looking that far out to find some connection with greatness as opposed to looking closer to home. Black Americans have a culture, and it's a beautiful one that is so far more than just slavery. Don't forget, we are the blueprint. We are the blueprint. And with that, let's get into our movie review. And in honor of Black Panther Wakanda Forever dropping this Friday, November 11th, let's talk about the first Black Panther. So this came out around 2016, and I remember everyone being so hyped about it. And I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I wasn't. And it's not because I had a reason. I was indifferent, okay? I was indifferent. And it had to dawn on me that, oh, this is the first black superhero that we're seeing like on camera. Because like when the Avengers came on scene, it was what, 5 white dudes and 1 white woman. And then we started expanding, and then we get a black superhero with his own movie. Kaya, come on now. And I didn't go see it on opening day, but I remember one of my aunts a few weeks, maybe even a month, we went to watch it in February. I remember that much. Um, she was like, "Hey, you want to go see it with me and your cousin?" So I was like, "Sure." And it was a magical event. I know that's really weird, but like it was, because seeing some of the shots, let's start with the cinematic viewpoint of Wakanda in general. Now, Wakanda is a fictional African country, it's not real, but the shots of it and the tribal music in the background every time you pan out to like trees and the grass and the sunset and whatnot was really beautiful. And then the scene where T'Challa takes Killmonger to the cliff to see the sunset, the Wakandan sunset. It's a really pretty shot, and honestly, that's a really pretty scene. But it's a really pretty shot, right? The technology, and I think this movie like was really a boost for Black girls in STEM. Like I think a lot more Black girls got into STEM after this, but the technology, the fact that they had all of this, they had vibranium and little beads that, like, it was so cool. It was so cool to see Black people have a place, taking up a place in this space, and to see them with all of this technology to have this agency in it. And then the fight scenes were cool, and T'Challa jumping on the back of the car doing a chase scene. Now, this film, it starts off kind of like where Civil War ended, kind of like King T'Chaka is dead, and so now it's T'Challa taking over. And so from there, we see him on a mission, right? And we see him trying to bring back Nakia, who is T'Challa's love interest, and she's a dark-skinned Black woman. There are a lot of dark-skinned Black people at the center of this, which is really great. And so they bring her back, and I think they have his funeral, T'Chaka. I think they have his funeral. And then it's T'Challa's coronation type thing, and so he has to be stripped of the power of the Black Panther, and then anybody who would like to take control of Wakanda gets the chance to fight him for it without the aid of the Black Panther stuff. I can't think of the name right now, but so that's M'Baku steps up. He's a leader of the tribe, and they kind of isolated themselves to the Jabari tribe, I believe it is. And they isolated themselves to the mountains, and so he came down and was like, I want a chance. And that fight scene is really cool, I think. Well, not really cool, but you know what I mean. Like, it's something. It's something to watch. It's something to witness. And it's a fair fight, but T'Challa wins it out. And then from here we see, this is where Killmonger kind of starts to come in, and he brings, well, no, what happens is the killer, I can't remember what he did. I can't remember if he like supplied Zemo with like the bombs that killed King T'Chaka. It's a white guy who's a bad guy, and they hear he's back up, he's on their radar, and so they try to go get him. And before they can get him, something happens, and this is the chase scene with Black Panther jumping on top of the car, and it's not a car he's driving, it's a car Shuri is driving. I'm back in Wakanda, so that technology alone is like, my God, it's so cool. it's it's really cool. And then this is where Killmonger kinds of come in. He kills the white guy and he brings him to Wakanda. And at this point, it's where T'Challa kind of knows what happened and who this guy is, and he doesn't really want people to know. He's like, no, 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 you have no claim here. Don't do this, man. Don't do this, man. So he challenges it. He challenges. There we go. That's the word. T'Challa. And so the leaders of the tribes kind of have a, can he do that? Can he? I mean, he is, you know, King T'Chaka's brother's son. Yeah, but he hasn't been here. And so it leads to them dueling. And it's here where Killmonger kills T'Challa and he assumes the throne. And so he was raised in America. And so his thing is, y'all sitting on all this power and could be helping a lot of black folk, not just here in Wakanda, but in America too. And so T'Challa's stance on that is like, I'm not king of the world, I'm king of Wakanda, and they already think we a third world country anyway. So maybe let's let them keep thinking that. Like, can't help everybody. From there, Nakia, Queen Mother, Shuri, and I think it's one more, but I think it's them three, and Ross, Agent Ross. They travel to M'Baku and try to give him the plant of the Black Panther so that he can take on the mantle and beat Killmonger. Because Killmonger has taken the other suit. Shuri made 2 suits and 2 new Black Panther with nanotech to help T'Challa, and so T'Challa has one and now Killmonger has the other. So from there, M'Baku's like, I would, but here goes T'Challa. He's just barely alive. We have oh, that's another thing as far as shots. When they do the afterworld, and you hear the music and you see like the plane with the trees and the, I don't know how to, the wavering air to let you know this is like not real. Like, it's such a pretty shot, and the fact that they use purple, you know, I love purple. But it's such a pretty shot. And it's here that T'Challa confronts T'Chaka, and he's like, why would you leave your nephew like that? Why would you kill your brother? Why would you leave your nephew, who is now our enemy? I don't want to be that person, but there's a saying, the child who is not embraced by the village will burn it down to feel its warmth. And I think, you know, it really goes with this. And so that's kind of what T'Challa is saying to T'Chaka, and T'Chaka's like, I had to do what I had to do. So they revive him. He takes the Black Panther flower, and we get a second round of Killmonger and T'Challa. And so when he comes back, he was like, he calls him by his Wakandan name, which I can't remember, but I think that's important, and I like that. He's like, I never yielded, and as you can see, I am not dead. And so they have another fight, which this is like the big climax fight, and it ends with is what's also really cool to me is like, those that saw the original X-Men trilogy, the first movie where Logan is fighting Magneto, or he's fighting one of them, and so they're fighting on Lady Liberty, and so he swings off Lady Liberty, like he has his claws, and he gets pushed, but instead of falling off, he's like, whoo, 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 and swings back around. And they do that exact same thing with Black Panther and Killmonger when they're fighting. It ends with Killmonger getting stabbed, which to me, this is like one of the best lines in the film. And it's so funny that I, of course, can't quote it verbatimly, but T'Challa is like, maybe there's a way we can still heal you. And Killmonger's like, for what? So you can just clap me in chains? Nah. Just throw me in the ocean with my ancestors that jumped from them ships because they knew death was better than bondage. Yo, that line gets me every time. I don't care what criticisms people have for that line. That line gets me every time. And then T'Challa takes Killmonger up so that he can see a Wakandan sunset, and then he pulls out the knife and kneels over and dies. And this all leaves T'Challa. It gives him a sense of perspective about him helping Black people, not just in Wakanda. And that's kind of how the movie ends. He takes Shuri to California, and like, this is the building that our father killed our uncle in. They're tearing it down, and I'm building you a science technology building right here, and all of that. And then I don't know if it's the press conference scene that's the post scene, or if that's how it ends. But when it finally ends, all the stars play, and it's just, the soundtrack is another thing. All the stars play for me, and all the tribal music, like, it hits right in the feels. I will say this, there are some criticisms from the film. A lot of people felt like Black women were, some Black American women anyway, were discarded in this film with the way Killmonger used his girlfriend and then just killed her senselessly. Then there's Killmonger in general, who I don't really feel like is a true villain. Like, it's iffy for me. It's like really iffy for me because he talks in AAVE, but it just doesn't come from an authentic place to me. And then there are people who will say, well, the movie only did well because, it was Black. Shut up. It's a good movie. Does it have its flaws? Yes. But overall, it's a good movie. And I would give it an 8 out of 10 because it is a good movie. And the fact that it is the first Black superhero movie, yeah, that does help because we need that kind of representation. So, 8 out of 10. I love it. And I really can't wait to see Wakanda Forever. And I know it's going to be on a different level than Black Panther was, unfortunately. But I can't wait to see it all the same. That's my thoughts on Black Panther. Before I get into my next segment, let's take a minute here to send it over to our promoters so they can let you know where to find us. Like what you're hearing?
Follow us for more.
We're on Apple Podcasts, Anchor, Spotify, and YouTube.
And don't forget to share, like, and comment.
Woo!
Woo! You love us.
Thanks, promoters. Now, let's get into our next segment, our TV review segment. And today, I'm reviewing The Vampire Diaries. Now, I know you guys kind of heard me talk a bit about this when I was comparing it, when I was using it with my examples of toxic tropes and whatnot. So let's get into it as to how it's still better than Twilight, but how it's like on that same level of like they're on the same lane, but The Vampire Diaries is still up here. So let's get into it. So it follows the same kind of plot or whatever as Twilight. One girl, two guys. Elena, she's human. Damon and Stefan, but they're both vampires and they're brothers. So season 1, I'm not gonna give like the beginning of like the details for episode 1 because I can't but vaguely remember it. We see Stefan enroll in Elena's high school, even though he most certainly does not look like a high schooler. We see Damon, who in season 1 is like the bad guy. Like, so there's Damon, there's Stefan, the vampire brothers, Elena, main character, Elena's black friend Bonnie, who's a witch, Elena's other friend Caroline, who's white, she later becomes a vampire, Jeremy, who is Elena's brother, he kind of later becomes like a vampire hunter for a little quick minute. Tyler, who is the werewolf, Vicky, who is, well, Matt, who is human. He was at first Elena's boyfriend and then Caroline's boyfriend, and he remains human throughout the entire thing. Vicky, who is Matt's sister. Tyler, Lockwood's mom, who, like I said, Tyler is a vampire. Elijah, Klaus, Rebecca, the Michelsons, the original vampires. Catherine, the vampire who turned Stefan and Damon, and were kind of their love interest. I think that's pretty much it, main character wise, I'm thinking. So he enrolls in Elena's school. We quickly see he has that Jasper complex where, like, you know, she'll accidentally cut herself and he's like, oh my god, blood, Stefan, control yourself, don't do it, you know. Because the thing about Stefan is that he's like an alcoholic when it comes to human blood. Like, he feeds off of animal blood, not enough to kill him, but like he feeds off of animal blood because he cannot control himself with human blood. So we see he has that Jasper complex in season 1, and it kind of like, it dies out a little bit, but we still see that he cannot have a lot of human blood around him. Damon is the villain in season 1, kinda. He dates Caroline and he abuses her, which no one lets him live down, and I'll get to why I say it like that in a minute. There are also the tomb vampires so I want to take a minute to praise a few aspects of this show. There's a lot about the vampire mythology that I like that this show does, that if I'm ever writing a vampire story, I will follow Vampire Diaries myth and mythos more than anything else. So their ability to eat and drink human food, as long as they have a good dose of blood with every human meal, they'll be fine, right? Like, as long as you get your blood in for the day, human food, drink, it does nothing for you. Like, it's not a substance enough for you, so like you can't eat human food and go without blood and then think you're going to be fine. You have to have blood, but you don't have to stop eating human food because it doesn't, you know. The way that vampires cannot enter one's house unless they are invited in. So if they're not invited in, they're just like, they're stuck at the door and they can't come in, right? The way their compulsion works, their daylight rings, or jewelry in general. A witch will do a spell on some kind of jewelry and they wear it, and as long as they're wearing it, they can walk into the sun and do anything in the sun as they please. They just have to keep wearing their daylight ring or daylight jewelry, right? So praise for that. So with the tomb vampires of season 1, that's kind of what it is. It's like, you know, they can't get out. The same force that's keeping a vampire out of your house is the same force that's keeping these tomb vampires in. And so when they get out, kind of run rampant because they've been starved. That's how they're not dead. They weren't decapitated or burned to death. They just dry. They're just being starved in this tomb. Season 2 is Catherine Pierce. Another thing I want to praise is Nina Dobrav's her ability to play different characters. She played Elena, she played Catherine. They're doppelgangers of each other, and then there are like 2 or 3 other doppelgangers, and each had their own personality. Each was a completely different character. So kudos to you, lady, because that's a lot. That's a lot. Season 3 was like either the Travelers and then the Originals, and season 4 was the Originals. Season 5 were like Vampire Hunters. Season 6, what was season 6? I'm not even sure. Season 7 were the Heretics, or maybe season 6 and season 7 were the Heretics, which was Damon and Stefan's mom and then her new family. And I don't remember anything about season 8 because I didn't watch season 8. The last episode I do remember is Damon kept dying over and over, and then when he finally woke up, he accidentally stabbed and killed Bonnie, or he just stabbed her. So let's get into the characters. Elena is very much the main character. She's human. She gets to turn into a vampire around season 4, and that's something that I will praise Twilight for. They turned Bella into a vampire, and it's like, yeah, Because here's the thing, don't be sitting here messing around with all these humans and then just not turn them. Like, for what? You're just playing with their mortality and hurting your own feelings and theirs too. Like, if you're gonna do it, just... Anyway, she got turned into a vampire by season 4. Before she was a vampire, it was like everybody's job to sit here and protect her. And the minute she gets turned into a vampire, it was so much better for her character development. But everybody was trying to turn her back. No, she needs to be human. Human Elena, get her back. And it's like, why? She was already kind of being trained as to how to protect herself from vampires, but now it's like, y'all don't have to protect her as much because now she has the strength to back it up. Why are y'all trying to turn her human? Why? So she stays a vampire from season 4 to about season 6. At the end of season 6, she turns human, and then she gets put under some kind of spell that puts her in a slumber. And the only way she can awaken from the slumber is if Bonnie is dead. And that's kind of how they wrote her out. And that's because Nina Dobrev wanted to do other projects at the time. But it was still stupid to me. It's like, what? Y'all make her a human. The next 4 seasons, the next 3 seasons is about getting her back. Y'all make her a vampire. The next 3 seasons is about getting her human. She turned human, and then she... See how when she a vampire, she not this weak and whiny? Ugh. Caroline was a control freak as a human. And being a vampire only amplifies what you have, right? So I will say this about Elena. Season 4 is when we also get Delena, which is Damon and Elena, which is something that I rooted for, because before then it's Stefan, it's always Stefan, and it was the same with Catherine. Like, sorry Damon, it's Stefan, it's always gonna be Stefan. And I quickly tired of the Stelena plot, like very quickly. I tired of it, and they were already building up Delena. Like, we could see that Elena had feelings for Damon and Damon had feelings for Elena, so they were building that up. And when we finally got into season 4, I was like, ooh, it only amplifies what you feel. And so I will admit that I got tired of Delena too, and that happens a lot with my favorite shows like Castle. Back in Castle, once they finally got together, I was kind of over it. Booth and Bones, once they finally got together, like their wedding episode, the episode they got married in, is the last episode I remember from Booth and Bones, because I didn't. And that happens a lot. Most times, because it wouldn't have happened with Sleepy Hollow. If Abby and Crane had finally gotten together, it would not have happened there. And there are some other shows where it might not have happened. And even here with Bonnie and Damon, which I'll get to in a minute, if they ever did that, I wouldn't have gotten tired of that. Anyway, so that's Elena. Caroline was like a really control freak as a human. It was so unbearable. And like I said, becoming a vampire amplifies who and what you are and what you feel. And yet, when she got turned into a vampire by Catherine in season 2, that was also the best thing for her. And ironically, she would outlast all the other vampires, including the originals. Anyway, like, she was still a control freak, but it was not... That was the best thing for her. She was dating Matt when she was human. She needed Matt when she was human. She started dating Tyler shortly after she transitioned, and I think she needed Tyler because Tyler started transitioning shortly after Caroline became a vampire. And so she was a newbie vampire and he was transitioning, and I think they needed that relationship because they were both newbies. Even though they're different species, they were newbies. So, and now we see that it ends with her and Stefan, and I could have seen that in season 2, but later in the seasons I did not see Stefan and Caroline, and I did not like it. Caroline and Klaus, that's a couple I will always go for. Yeah, Caroline and Klaus should have been in game. That's what should have happened. Caroline and Klaus, that's what should have happened, because she needed Klaus to help her live out eternity. So Stefan and Caroline, I'm sorry, I don't go for it. Could have gone for it in season 2 when he was helping her transition. Don't go for it now. So that's Caroline. Matt he remains human throughout the whole thing. They really use him as a way of just, I don't even know. Like, they killed him when Elena turned off her humanity to snap her humanity back on. Like, that's how they use him. but he remains human throughout the whole thing, and it's just so Jeremy is also kind of he's Elena's younger brother. I think he's a younger brother. They might be on the same level. um he became a hunter for a short spell, a vampire hunter, and then it was like meh. Tyler, he was he was the bully, and then he's kind of, evened out when he started turning and dating Caroline. But even then, we could see he had that like possessive alpha werewolf thing, and it's like, why do their alpha possessiveness have to be so toxic? Like, but he was all right. He was nowhere near like Jacob. I will say that he was nowhere near like Jacob. I don't think. I may be wrong. Let's get back to main characters. Damon started out as the villain in season 1. He abused Caroline. They don't ever let him live that down. He evened out, started dating Elena, became an ally, but we see that he's selfish in the way that he cares more about Elena than anybody else. And so even her friends, if it's her or them, she practically has to beg him to save them. When Elena is gone, we see Damon and Bonnie be trapped in, well, not even when she's gone. So this kind of happens at the end of season 4, maybe season 5. We see Bonnie and Damon trapped in like this hell loop, where it's the Salvatore house in their neighborhood, but like no one else is there except, we figure out later, is Kai, who's like the villain of some season. He's like a deranged sociopath that people ship him and Bonnie together, which is like, Bonnie can't have love unless the dude crazy, huh? Why would y'all be shipping her and him together? Anyway, it's here we see Bonnie and Damon become friends because she did not like him. And so they become slowly friends to allies, allies to friends. And I could even see a lover aspect. And so I could see it. I really could. And the time that Elena was gone, I don't know. I know a lot of people like Enzo, but for Bonnie, but like, I could also see Damon. I'm just saying. And then it really helps that the fact that Ian Somerhalder, who played Damon, was very vocal about the mistreatment Bonnie and Kat Graham, who played Bonnie, got. And he was like, because they kept killing Bonnie. They would kill Bonnie like it would be like the Winchesters. They killed her like every season. She would die for her white counterparts. And so he was like, the minute y'all axe her out for real, I'm gone. You can do the show without Elena, but can you do it without Bonnie and Damon? I'm gone. So like, I mess with it. I do. Stefan, now there's a lot of people praise Stefan as the better brother, and it's just like, no. And this is not like some Damon lover stan type thing, but let's be for real. Damon, Stefan, and Klaus are all on the sinking predator boat, because people will praise Stefan, condemn Damon, and then praise Klaus. Klaus came on the scene as a villain. He killed Tyler's mom. He killed Elena's aunt. Like he was trying to kill Elena. Like, he came on the scene as a villain. And like, but and the fact that Stefan started messing with Elena as soon as he got into the school, like, now they graduated in season 4. The main cast graduated in season 4. So that means in season 1, what that mean, y'all? What does that mean? I'm gonna tell y'all what that mean. It means she was in 9th grade. I don't know about y'all, but I was 15, just turning 16 in the 9th grade. And a lot of people be like, well, he was 17 when he was turned, so he's a 17 mentality. Shut up. Go get in college, bro. You've been alive long enough. Go be in college. Messing around. And then the fact that he started messing with her because she looked like Catherine. Shut up. Stefan is a predator. He got to do animal blood because he can't have human blood because he'll go all ripper on people. Stefan is a predator. Klaus is a predator too. Was like, cause like, why you sitting here messing with high school girls too? Even though him and Caroline were cute, and when they finally got together, she was in college. And I still stand by the fact that they should have been Endgame, just Endgame. Everybody should have met in college. This should have been a college show. Everybody should have met in college. I don't know why century-old vampires gotta mess with high schoolers, but like college people. On the other hand, I don't know why century-old vampires want to become human, because a lot of these vampires like, oh, I'm ready to be human, and this is as a human standpoint, but it's like, well, why? You got now. You've seen a lot of crap in the world, but it's like you got the strength. I'm assuming you got the bank, because if you ain't got a bank and you've been alive for centuries, step into the sun for me. Step into the sun for me. So I'm assuming you got bank. Be the change that you want to see. You could be helping the world. Like, I don't understand. You love underage people and they make you want to turn human. Like, just turn them and be done. I'm sorry. This is from a human standpoint, of course, but Catherine. Now, a lot of people will praise Catherine, just like with my Morgana spew last week. A lot of people will praise Catherine for being this girl boss villain and so much better than Elena, because Catherine even has a line. She's like, all this crap happened to my family and I didn't turn my humanity off. I just put up with it. Yeah, Elena, she put up with it. Be for real. Elena's parents drowned in the same car that she was in. She didn't drown. She saw her aunt get murdered. She saw, like, she didn't see her friend get turned, but like, she's seen all this crap. Her brother died, all of that. Y'all will fold under that pressure too and turn your humanity off so quick. Be for real. Be for real. Catherine ain't no girl boss badass chick. She been obsessed with the Salvatore brothers for as long as they've been obsessed with her. Like, she is not some cool, oh my gosh, she's such a badass, oh, she's so girl boss. Like, bro, I feel like white feminists are the ones that be praising her the most, because you cannot, the one that should be getting praised is Bonnie. And Bonnie can't seem to catch a break. She always dying for her white counterparts, can't get no love interest, can't get no love. Like, be for real. Enzo died. She had a few other love interests that died. She couldn't stay with Jeremy. My best bet was Bonnie and Damon, but that never happened. But like, and you know what's funny? I don't know if Cat Graham was for it, but I think Ian Somerhalder was for it. He was like, yeah, let's do it. Like, you know what's funny to me? It's a side note. It's always a doozy. Because like, if you watch the videos, if you watch the interviews of Sleepy Hollow, and you see Tom Myson talking about, oh yeah, he's completely in love with Abby. Let's do it. Let's go. And then you see Nicole Bahari, she's like, we're not even playing up into this stuff. You know, there's a possibility things could happen, but you know, we're not even like. But it's so funny to me. But anyway, a lot of the lines in here are cringy. Like, I remember this one line, Catherine is talking to Stefan, and she's like, you've changed. You're meaner. You're harder. It's sexy. Like, it's just so, it's such a cringe line. And I'm like, ugh. Overall, I'd give the show a 5.5 to a 6 out of 10. Like, and this is like, I started this when I was a tween to a teen, so yeah, as you get older, you realize it's not that great. But like, even when I was still a teen, like still like 16 to like 17, which is still older than when I started watching the show, I was like, I'm through, because this is so, no thank you. So a 5.5 to a 6 out of 10. Like, still better than Twilight, but Bonnie deserved better. Bonnie and Damon should have happened. Over Stefan and Elena versus Damon and Elena, always Damon and Elena. Stefan is not some savior. He is a pedo. He is a weirdo. I'm not excusing Damon's past behavior, but him, Stefan, Damon, and Klaus are all in a sinking weirdo boat, okay? You cannot praise Stefan, condemn Damon, and then praise Klaus in the same freaking breath. Caroline surviving all the other vampires is wild to me, but her being a vampire was the best thing that could have happened to her. Being a vampire was the best thing that could have happened to Elena, but they wouldn't let it be. That's pretty much it. Tyler eventually got written out. Jeremy eventually got written out, I think. Matt is irrelevant. 5.5 to a 6 out of 10. Catherine is not some cool revolutionary girl boss. Like, she a weirdo too. She's been obsessed with the Salvatore brothers and Elena, as long as they've been obsessed with Elena and each other. Like, nah, it's not that great. And with that, let's get into our last segment of the day. It's time for What's in the Headlines, where we rave and review celebrity news and gossip. And today we're talking about Selena Gomez and her kidney donor, Francia Taylor. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. Getting into a little spat, if you will. We're talking about Drake and his line against Megan Thee Stallion. And we're also talking about Twitter possibly coming with a cost. Let's first start with Twitter possibly having to pay for Twitter. Now, Elon Musk took over Twitter a few weeks ago, and he's already started charging people, I think, $8 a month for the blue check mark, which is so stupid because it's like, this is not some status symbol or whatever. This is how people know that this is me. When I'm reaching out to agents and stuff, they need to know that this is verified me. Like, why am I charging $8 a month for it? And now you want us to pay for Twitter as a whole? Look, if we have to pay for Twitter, Rave Review will have to find a new opening segment, maybe unpopular opinions or something else, because I'll tell you one thing, I'm not paying for Twitter. Now, I like Twitter, I like Black Twitter, I like college Twitter, I like nerd Twitter. There's a lot of things on Twitter I like, there's a lot of things on Twitter I don't like, but there's a lot of things on Twitter I like. But if I have to pay for it, I'm chucking the deuces to it. I assure you, I'm not paying for it, and I can confidently say I think free won't be either. And this has already caused some celebrities to leave. I know Whoopi Goldberg, she chucked the deuces to it. She was like, nope, not doing it. I know a lot of celebrities have been condemning or talking about Elon Musk. Kathy Griffin recently got her account suspended for making a parody account of Elon Musk, and it's like, so you see why those checks, those verified checks, are important? But please, the minute I have to pay for Twitter, I'm sorry, y'all, I'm gone, which sucks, but like, we will find a new opening segment the minute that happens. That's just, but one of the richest men in the world, and you buy Twitter. How many times could you feed the entire world, like, over and over, like, and you buy Twitter for what? Like, what it must be like to be a narcissist. Anyway, let's get into our next topic, which is Selena Gomez and her kidney donor, and a little feud, if that's what you can call it. So Gomez was recently in her interview, and she basically kind of said how she only had one real friend in the industry, talking about Taylor Swift, and Francia Taylor, I'm assuming, was questioned about that, and she responded, interesting. And I think she promptly unfollowed Gomez, and this led Gomez to clap back, sorry, I didn't mention everyone in my life, right? Here are my thoughts on it, because I've seen a lot of people say, well, you should have given your kidney without wanting to always be acknowledged and all of that. Be for real. Here's my thing. I don't know, y'all. Like, that's a pretty big deal. If anybody gave me an organ, I'm not saying I would feel obligated to always bring them up, but I think Taylor is also in the industry. And so I'd be like, hey, two most important people, the person who gave, like, you gave me something of yours, and now you have one so that I could have two, or at least one working one. That's a big deal. And if I gave somebody my organ, I'm not saying that I would always want appreciation, but like, or to always be mentioned, but like, for me, it would always be on my mind. You are a real one. Like, maybe y'all weren't as close friends as you thought. Like, I don't know, and I can only assume with the evidence that I've been given. I can only talk with the evidence that I've been given. So maybe they weren't as close of friends as, Taylor thought, or whatever, that she would have to, that's my little 2 cents on it. I personally, if that statement came up, would have been like, two people closest to me, person who gave me an organ, a vital organ, and my other bestie. But that's just me. I don't know the full situation, so that's just how I would respond to it. Now let's get into our last topic, which is Drake's jab at Megan Thee Stallion. And his and 21 Savage new album, Her Loss. Lyrics are as followed. This chick lied about getting shot, but she's still a stallion. So Shorty says she graduated, she ain't learned enough. Play your album track once, K, I heard enough. Now, there have been some people that say, well, he's not even talking about Megan, but lie about getting shot. She says she's a stallion. Her name is Megan Thee Stallion. She accused Tory Lanez of shooting her, she recently graduated. She talks about how she graduated. Recently had an album come out. I can only assume it was meant for Meg. And under that assumption, what is with y'all and just like belittling black women and black women in pain? Like, why do y'all keep making jabs at her? Well, her story is inconsistent. Okay, how do we even learn the story? Because the little leprechaun was running his mouth, right? And her team had to set it straight, right? Kind of like with Olsane, whatever his name is, right? I can't think of his name right now. Kind of like with him, right? So clearly the little man got a pattern. And it's like, when male rappers get shot and get killed, we take it so seriously, as we should. But when a black woman gets in pain and gets shot and all of this, there are inconsistencies in her story and this and that, and not any and everything not to believe her. Why are you taking jabs at her and it didn't even have anything to do with you? And why are y'all riding so hard for this man? Like, I really don't think that this kind of riding y'all were doing for him happened before the incident between him and Megan. Like, why are y'all riding so hard for this man? For what? For what? And a lot of people say she should come back out with a diss track of her own, because as opposed to running to Twitter, because she did go to Twitter and she said, "Stop using my shooting for clout, you dumb dudes." Since when is it cool to joke about a woman getting shot? You dudes, especially rap dudes, are lame. Ready to boycott about shoes and clothes, but dog pout on a black woman when she say one of y'all homeboys abused her. And that's fair. She shouldn't have to come back out with no diss track. Y'all should not even be mentioning her. It ain't had nothing to do with you. Leave her alone. I don't understand. I don't understand why y'all are so quick to sit here and throw a black woman under the bus. And the minute a black woman sit here and step out with somebody not black, all of a sudden it's, you need to stand up, my sister. It's too many good brothers, but y'all doing this. Or you just staying silent when this kind of stuff happens. Be for real. Be so for real. Leave her alone. Leave her alone. It had nothing to do with you. Nothing. Leave her alone. Why would you do that? Like, and y'all can say he wasn't talking about her all you want, but evidence, it kind of sound like it was. Like, evidently, I just don't, keep her name out your mouth. I don't understand why it is so hard to believe a black woman was abused. Like, why do y'all invalidate black women's pains like this? Y'all are as bad as the white people and white doctors who do the same. And for what? Think about that. Who are you trying to impress by invalidating a black woman's pain? Think about that. And then stop. And with that, that's what's in the headlines, and that's the show. Thanks for listening and watching. If you like our content, be sure to like our content. Leave a comment down below on anything you agree or disagree with. Be respectful, but let me know anything you'd like to add to the conversation or anything you'd like to see more of. Like I said, we're any and all things pop culture, anything that interests us. Anything you want to see, leave it in the comments. We'll review it, and if we decide to do it, we can do it, and maybe even give you a shout out, because I think we can do that now. Engage with our content, views and likes and shares with all of your friends and family. It helps us out so much. It goes such a long way. Subscribes and follows, all of that, it helps us, and we really, really appreciate it. Thanks for listening and watching. We'll see you next time.